This is El Chepe, an iconic railway line that took a century to complete, carved from the inhospitable terrain of Mexico's Sierra Madre. Beginning in the historic town of Krill, it moved southwest through the magnificent Copper Canyon region, climbing high mountains, crossing breathtaking bridges, and descending steep valleys, before it ends its awe-inspiring journey in the coastal city of Los Mochis. Filmed from above, this series showcases some of the most incredible railways on Earth. With spectacular aerial footage, we'll gain a unique insight into these remarkable trains and the extraordinary landscapes they pass through, revealing the technology that built them and the people who keep them running. We'll uncover the culture, the history, and the engineering that makes these the world's greatest train journeys from above. Mexico, the third largest country in Latin America. Sharing a border to the north with the United States, it is bound to the west and south by the Pacific Ocean and to the east by the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. Located in northwest Mexico is its largest state, Chihuahua. And it is here that Mexico's only long-distance passenger train can be found, El Chepe Express. Begun as a visionary project to link Mexico's Pacific coast with the plains of the American Northwest, this train travels through a region dominated by the 1,100-kilometer Sierra Madre and one of the great natural wonders of the world, the Copper Canyon. Sitting at an altitude of 2,300 meters, the town of Krill is the gateway to the Copper Canyon. And it is the main starting point for El Chepe. The train departs Krill 3 times a week and has seating for up to 580 passengers across 16 carriages.
Buenos días. ¿Qué tal? Permiten su boleto, por favor.
Train manager Mauricio Navarro oversees the entire onboard service team.
We're going to check their tickets, their ID, and we're going to assign the seats so they can get aboard in different classes.
With 9 years' experience on El Chepe, Mauricio enjoys the variety of his role.
For me, it's the best job that I have had in all my life. I enjoy it because I deal with people, especially to be like the ambassador of Mexico in the Chepe, only train in Mexico, so I love my job, I enjoy it. We have all the passengers aboard, so I'm ready to go. We are ready to go. Vámonos. Por favor.
With the final signal from traffic control,
Adelante, adelante.
the El Chepe locomotive and its passenger carriages set off, departing Krill and heading southwest on a 650-kilometer journey towards the Pacific coast. From above, the beauty of the journey is plain to see, but the dramatic landscape makes for a challenging route. From Krill, El Chepe Express climbs as it heads southwest through the Copper Canyon region, before beginning a gradual descent towards the mountain lookout of Divisadero. It then follows a winding path along the course of the Fuerte River to the agricultural heartland of Sinaloa, before arriving in the coastal city of Los Mochis. As one of Mexico's biggest tourist attractions, El Chepe draws visitors from around the world. And the crew work hard to make the experience on board as memorable as the scenery outside.
Every journey, all the crew is very satisfied to give the service to the passengers and see the faces when they get off and say thank you.
Whilst maitre d' Carlos Suarez ensures the dining car is ready to welcome guests,
Hola, ¿cuántos son?
in the kitchen, chefs Jesus and Jesus are preparing the first of more than 90 meals that will be served across the 9-hour journey.
Estamos preparándonos para el servicio ahorita de primera clase. Él es mi hijo Jesús. Aquí tenemos yo tengo 16 años aquí laborando aquí.
Desde muy chiquito le ayudo a preparar cosas, alimentos, desde muy niño. Siempre quise trabajar con él ya fuera de que me trajera de viaje o de paseo.
Bueno, es un buen alumno aquí.
The first stage of the journey takes El Chepe through the high pine forests of the Sierra Madre, a region steeped in history. South of Krill stands the church of San Ignacio de Arareco. It was built by Jesuit missionaries in the 18th century. The Copper Canyon is also home to the Tarahumara people. This indigenous group once lived throughout Chihuahua, but fled here after the Spanish conquest. As well as the onboard crew, there's a whole team of engineers and mechanics keeping the train and the track in peak condition. Saul is so passionate about trains, he actually lives in a converted train carriage.
Yo, a lo personal, amo el ferrocarril. ¿Qué mejor motivo que levantarte con ganas de trabajar el día de hoy?
It's not just his home, it's his work too. Saul is one of the maintenance team, responsible for ensuring that everything on, under, and inside the train is in perfect working order.
Pues el día de hoy tenemos que checar unos motores, a ver qué fallas presentan, a ver cómo están. Todo el trabajo del ferrocarril es algo muy bonito. Listo, vamos a trabajar.
The team has been renovating one of El Chepe's carriages, and today they're attaching a new generator to the underside.
Este motor es prácticamente el corazón del coche. Va a alimentar los sistemas eléctricos como son la iluminación, los tomacorrientes y aparte el sistema de aire acondicionado y calefacción.
For operations manager Ricardo, steady power is particularly important on this route.
En la ruta en que se mueve nuestro tren tenemos climas muy extremosos, entonces es necesario tener un sistema de aire acondicionado para mantener la temperatura agradable para el pasajero.
With the generator installed, Saul moves on to the next job.
Ahorita hay que checar todos los motores. A los motores que les haga falta su cambio de aceite, que van a ser 2 cambios de aceite. Si no funciona bien el motor, nos va a empezar a fallar el generador. Entonces la gente de arriba, si llegan a Sinaloa, van a tener mucho calor porque no van a trabajar bien los aires acondicionados.
As well as the generator, there's another vital task for the team today. Further down the train, the silicon seal around one of the windows has deteriorated, allowing humid air to circulate inside the passenger carriages and condensation to form. The whole window unit is being replaced. With each new carriage window weighing 58 kilograms, it takes teamwork to get it in place.
Una, dos, tres. Sujetemos las esquinas para que ellos puedan taladrar la esquina. Sí. Después se le pondrá un silicón para que la humedad o cualquier lluvia o tempestad no vaya a perjudicar el interior del tren.
While Saul and his crew get the carriages ready, another team is busy stretching and warming up for a day of hard work out on the tracks.
8, 7. Dice, el objetivo es evitar accidentes al caminar en la vía. Personal involucrado, todo personal de operaciones y demás personal que realice esta actividad. Recuerden, el día de hoy es trabajar seguros y regresar, así como venimos el día de hoy, completos, sanos, así tenemos que regresar a casa.
The terrain on El Chepe's route is filled with hazards, from potential landslides and rockfalls to flash floods. And it's up to this team to keep the tracks open, driving a fleet of specially adapted protector trucks that run 25 minutes ahead of the trains. Today's crew is track inspector Jose Soto and track operator Omar Bensor.
Nosotros, como somos exploradores del pasajero express y lo que hacemos es darle seguridad al pasajero express, nosotros decimos, ¿sabes qué? Esto no presta seguridad para el pasajero, paramos totalmente el tráfico para que se haga la reparación.
The pair have been working on the line for 7 years and have developed a sixth sense for problems with the track.
¿Escuchaste? Falta un tornillo ahí. Vamos a hacer una reparación rápida, es una reparación mínima.
With the train running less than half an hour behind them, Jose and Omar have just enough time for a quick repair.
Pues ahorita vamos a colocar los tornillos para que no se nos vaya a abrir esa unión en la noche o en la mañana que hace mucho frío, que se nos vaya a abrir la unión.
The tracks are screwed together using pieces of steel known as fish plates. A gap between each length of rail allows them to expand in the hot summers of the Sierra Madre, while the screws and fish plates hold them in position when the temperature drops at night.
Listo.
Jose and Omar complete the repair in just a few minutes, leaving plenty of time for the train to pass. But as El Chepe continues to climb towards the highest point on its route, another team of engineers is facing a much bigger problem. El Chepe Express is now 20 kilometers into its journey southwest through the Sierra Madre. Although construction on the line began in 1897, it was more than 60 years before the whole route was completed. As well as contending with a lack of funding and delays due to the outbreak of the Mexican Revolution, the dramatic scenery which draws today's visitors onto the train created huge challenges for the engineers building the line. Most railway tracks require gentle turns and shallow inclines of less than 5%, and traversing the steep cliffs and ravines of the Copper Canyon took some truly creative engineering solutions. One of the most pioneering is at El Lazo. El Lazo means the loop, and here the track curves 8 degrees to make a wide 360-degree turn, allowing it to spiral down a steep mountainside and quickly lose altitude. It can test both engine and track to their limits, and today the crew aboard the protector truck has spotted a problem. With warning flags in place to alert oncoming rail traffic to their presence, they need to repair a damaged piece of rail.
Aquí en la zona del lazo tenemos una zona de curvas continuas de fuerte grado donde tenemos que asegurar que el paso del tren por esta zona sea lo más confortable y lo más suave posible.
The curved tracks of El Lazo mean that passing trains have exerted extra pressure on the rails, leaving a crack that will only worsen if left unrepaired. And the team has no time to lose.
Tenemos que hacer los trabajos lo más rápido posible. Tenemos la presión del paso de tren, que tenemos que darle pasada sin detener el tráfico de tren.
With the damaged piece of track now cut out completely, a mold is attached, and the rail is heated. Meanwhile, a special solution of iron and aluminium oxide is mixed in a ceramic crucible. Once ignited, this material will create an exothermic reaction. The heat created by this reaction is so intense that the iron in the crucible melts, flowing down into the mold and filling the gap in the railway tracks. With the mold removed, there is still excess metal around the join, enough to derail a passing train. The team now use sledgehammers and an angle grinder to remove the red-hot metal and smooth out the weld to create a perfect join. This technique, known as thermite welding, was first used to join stretches of railway line in 1899. It can be used in locations without access to electricity, making it invaluable in the remote regions of El Chepe's route.
Manuel, ya recoge la herramienta, tenemos el tren de pasajeros ahorita en el tren y tenemos que desocupar y dejar bien asegurada la vía para que pueda pasar.
In just moments, the newly repaired section of the track will be put to the test. The weld is a success, and the track is held firmly in place. From above, we can see how El Chepe passes safely through this marvel of railway engineering. Using a series of gentle curves to cross over itself, as it descends deeper into the Sierra Madre. With 58 kilometers of the route completed, El Chepe Express is now approaching the first major stop on its route, the mountain settlement of Divisadero. It's one of the highlights for visitors who come to experience the incredible views, and sidings have been built for passengers to disembark at the station. Switching the tracks is done the old-fashioned way.
We're about to arrive to Divisadero. We're going to leave the main truck. The guys in front of the engine, they're going to make the change of tracks for the people to get in. Okay, we're going to stay there for around 10, 15 minutes. It depends on the people to get aboard.
Manually aligning the tracks is the job of signalmen Obed Carrasco and Marco Antonio.
Vamos a darle vuelta aquí al cambio de vía para poder meternos a este extremo y poder colocar el tren en el andén.
With the track switched, the signal can be given for the train to proceed.
Véngase adelante, véngase adelante.
Standing at an elevation of over 2,200 meters, Divisadero means lookout or viewpoint and is the highest stop on the route. Here the train's passengers can disembark to sample the local indigenous culture, experience the thrills of the high-wire adventure, or simply stand in awe of one of the world's great natural wonders, the Copper Canyon. Carved out over the millennia by the 6 major rivers that flow through it, it is 4 times larger than America's Grand Canyon and is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Building a railway through this terrain meant not just climbing and descending mountains, but tunneling through cliffs and bridging deep ravines. Keeping this unique stretch of line running safely remains a constant challenge for today's maintenance crews. El Chepe Express is still at high altitude, passing through the mountainous terrain of Mexico's Sierra Madre. From just outside Divisadero, it begins the first stages of a winding 150-kilometer descent that will take it southwest towards the coastal state of Sinaloa. In the 1950s, after decades of delay and political upheaval, the final section of El Chepe had still not been built. So the Mexican government began a final push to complete the railway through the Copper Canyon. In the decade that followed, 6,000 men blasted 82 tunnels, put up 37 bridges, and laid 250 kilometers of track through some truly extraordinary terrain. Mexican engineers welded steel lengths of track, while Tarahumara tribesmen cut wooden sleepers from the forest. And by 1961, the first passenger train was finally able to pass all the way from Chihuahua to Los Mochis. The work of El Chepe's creators still stands, but it is vulnerable to the dangers of erosion and rockfalls and requires regular maintenance. Halfway through their shift, Protector Truck crew Jose and Omar are carrying out an inspection of one of the route's many tunnels.
Así que cuidar mucho, pues si vemos algún desprendimiento, alguna filtración de agua.
15 inches of rain can fall in a few short months in the Sierra Madre, flooding tunnels and eroding their walls.
Lo que también nos provoca mucho desprendimiento de rocas, aquí son las raíces de los árboles. Se empiezan a enterrar las raíces y van desprendiendo la roca.
They also check the whole length of track inside the tunnel.
A ver, pégale eso, ¿cómo están los tornillos? Este está flojo, man. Hay que tener la llave.
La llave para una apretada.
Sí, hay que poner una piedra aquí para visualizarlo ahorita.
With the tightening completed between 2 sections of rail, the crew can move on. The route's 37 largest bridges also need regular maintenance. and getting underneath the bridge to look for structural issues requires some highly specialized equipment. 16 kilometers from Divisadero stands the elegant La Laja Bridge. At 155 meters in length, it crosses the La Laja Canyon, a 50-meter ravine carved out by a tributary of the Septentrion River. The bridge was completed in 1960 as part of the final construction phase of the El Chepe line, with cement for its 4 concrete pillars mixed using aggregate from the bed of the river below. Today, keeping it safe is the work of bridge engineer Marco Ortiz and his team.
Estamos en el extremo norte del puente La Laja y vamos a realizar una inspección minuciosa de la estructura.
Bridges are checked twice a month along the El Chepe route as a matter of course, and more regularly if any concerns are recorded. Today, the crew is using an Aspen A30 bridge inspection truck, known as the Nest. And with a potentially fatal drop into the canyon on either side, the safety of the team is of paramount importance.
Están haciendo un checklist del arnés de seguridad. Tenemos que revisar todos los puntos de anclaje que estén bien, los nudos, las costuras y los aditamentos que tienen para que estén en buenas condiciones para poder usarlo con seguridad.
With the crew secure and the checks complete, the bridge inspection unit moves out over the canyon. Once it's in position, Marco gives the go-ahead.
Ok, adelante, René. Empiecen a mover ahí la pluma. Tenemos aproximadamente 4 horas porque se viene aproximándonos un tren al norte.
Weighing more than 20 tons, the Aspen A30 uses a hydraulic crane arm with an aluminium platform to lower the inspection engineer as much as 12 meters below the level of the tracks. Today, he is checking each of La Laja's 4 pre-stressed concrete pillars for signs of damage from extreme heat and cold.
Aquí puede ser unas fisuras, puede ser unas reventadas, grietas o las mesitas mecedoras que están allí. Ya que está observando uno que ya se mueve, se sienta el puente para abajo. Dale poquito para adelante al camión. Vamos a arrimarnos allá al cabezal.
The Nest has a maximum lift rating of 272 kilos, and with low winds and safety harnesses tightly secured, the engineer can feel relatively safe. But with a 50-meter drop below, carrying out the inspection takes a cool head.
Sí ha sentido miedo, imagino que todos lo tenemos, pero sí ha sentido miedo de repente, cuando están los aironazos así como está así el aire muy fuerte, pues no bajamos el camión así para ver.
With the work complete, it's a relief to get back to the rest of the team.
¿Cómo te fue, Poncha? ¿Cómo encontraste el puente?
Todo se ve acá del puente, con la expresión que se le hizo ahorita, se le ve todos sus apoyos, no se ve corrupción. La mesa también se ve normal. Todo se ve vocales con las pilas, los cabezales, todo se ve bien todo.
With the all clear given, it's time for normal traffic to resume on the La Laja Bridge.
Se viene aproximando un tren rumbo al norte. Nos están pidiendo el controlador que liberemos el tramo para que pueda llegar a su destino, que es San Rafael.
This engineering masterpiece united the skills of some of the world's greatest engineers with the manpower of the local Tarahumara. Today, these indigenous communities and their cultures draw visitors from around the world, and they have a vital part to play in keeping El Chepe alive. El Chepe Express has now descended nearly 1,000 meters from its high point in the Sierra Madre and is approaching the settlement of Bawichivo. The rise of air and road transport means that today El Chepe is one of Mexico's only remaining passenger trains and caters primarily to the tourists who come to visit Copper Canyon. In the dining car, maitre d' Carlos Juarez is keeping his passengers refreshed under challenging conditions.
As you can see, it is really rocky at the moment. The train is moving a lot. So that is quite a challenge for us to serve the drinks, to serve the food, but we are getting used to it, or we are used to it already.
The Chepe line was built to provide a link between diverse regions and cultures. And in the train's kitchen, father and son team, Jesus and Jesus, are preparing a menu rich in local product.
Que consiste en enchiladas de barbacoa, pambazo de bacalao y pozole de pollo, hecho aquí en la región. ¿Qué les parece?
We try every time to have local products, Mexican products mainly, but mostly from Chihuahua and from Sinaloa.
Seen from above, the arid wilderness of the Chepe route may not look like a promising place to source the ingredients for a chef's pantry. But the unique geography of these mountains holds some surprising secrets. And for winery owner Bernardo Balderrama, it's the perfect environment for producing one of El Chepe's most famous luxuries.
Right now, we're in the main vineyard of Mission de Cerro-Cahui. So this is the valley of Cerro-Cahui. Is in the middle of a basin, and it has a very special microclimate. This microclimate is very different than in all Mexico. It's compared to Burgundy in France. That's why you see pine trees and you see different vegetation. And this weather, it's a cool nights, and hot days makes it excellent for the grapes.
Bernardo has been supplying the Chepe train for the last 5 years, but the vineyard has its roots much further back in the region's history.
This vineyard dates to the 1780s, when the Jesuits, they came here into this land. They were coming here to propagate the Catholic religion, but also they brought with them the vines to grow them and to make their own wines, especially for the ceremony in the Mass.
Aboard El Chepe, the fruits of Bernardo's vineyard provide a welcome addition to the menu.
It is important to have a good quality of wine because we are, of course, serving good quality of food. So if we have good drinks, good wines, good food, we are giving a great experience to the customer. We are giving a great experience to the passengers.
Like the grapevines at Cerro-Cahui, apples also arrived with the Spanish in the 16th century, where they flourished in the cool heights of the Sierra Madre. Today, Chihuahua produces more than 70% of Mexico's annual apple harvest, 3% of the country's commercial fruit production. And they also find their way into the Chepe kitchen.
Pues por decir, en las manzanas tenemos que pelar unas 60 manzanas para 200 tartas, que es el postre de cada persona que le va incluido.
But there's another speciality served on the Chepe train that is truly local.
Es margarita origen, lleva tequila, lleva lo que es jugo de piña. Esta lleva frutos rojos, lleva lo que es sotol, bebida típica aquí de Chihuahua.
Unlike wine, sotol can only be made using a wild shrub, from which it takes its name. The slow-growing sotol plant is closely related to asparagus and is found only above 900 meters in the heights of the Sierra Madre. To keep the train supplied, distillery owner Victor Ibarra needs a sturdy four-wheel drive and a sound knowledge of the desert.
As you can see, we're like probably 1,600 meters altitude-wise, and this is very favorable for the plant to really grow and develop. As you can see, it's like very calizo, we call it. It's a type of terroir that we have over here. So it's dry, but during the winter, it can get humid, and it's when the plant will get its sugars ready after raining season.
In the early 20th century, the Mexican government banned sotol. Some makers kept production going illegally, smuggling the drink into the United States during the Prohibition era. In recent decades, production has been revived. The traditional methods of the sotoleros use underground ovens and fermentation to bring out the natural sweet flavors of the sotol plant. For Victor, the transformation of this hardy desert shrub into a fragrant liqueur never loses its magic.
When we get to the middle part, we can take some pieces of it and really taste the sweetness of it. It's just a very interesting and different kind of sweetness.
To test the final product, he turns to his master sotolero, Gerardo Ruelas.
¿Qué onda, Gera?
¿Qué, mi Víctor?
¿Cómo ves? Gerardo, it's a fifth generation. He represents a fifth generation of sotoleros.
For generations of Gerardo's family, practicing this craft meant risking jail. Today, his expertise is back in demand.
A mí me fascina el proceso, yo no tengo palabras para describirlo porque desde que nací en una vinata. Y otra de las grandes cosas, esto me ha llevado a muchas partes, a conocer diferentes partes de México, del mundo, conocer diferentes maestros, entonces es mucho agradecimiento al Sotol.
With the latest batch bottled and signed off, there's just enough time to get it to the Chepe train.
So, we have a delivery to make to El Chepe. Just happened. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien.
No, pues aquí te lo tengo listo.
Hecho.
¿Lo
Gracias.
llevas?
Sí, rápido.
Vale. Que vaya bien, hermano. Gracias.
Thanks to El Chepe, sotoleros like Victor and vineyard owners like Bernardo can bring the heritage and culture of the Sierra Madre region to people from all over the world. But as the train continues its journey through this mountainous region and encounters the people who have made this landscape their home, this railway's most surprising secrets are yet to come. Today, the Chepe Railroad is popular with tourists from around the world, drawing nearly 100,000 people each year. They come here not just for its unique landscape, but also for its culture.
I was excited to see the people, the Tarahumara people.
I like about it's not only trees. You can see, well, a history of the Tarahumaras, and everything has happened over here. How the both cultures are coexisting here.
Y la experiencia o lo que yo estoy buscando es conocer nuevas culturas, toda la Sierra Tarahumara, pues la experiencia del Express, las barrancas del cobre.
O vivir la experiencia dentro del tren, pues es lo que nos emociona.
From above, the remote terrain of the Copper Canyon may appear inhospitable, but for many, this landscape has been a place of refuge. The Mennonites, a religious Christian group, settled in Chihuahua in the early 20th century, and the region has also provided a refuge for the indigenous Tarahumara people. Persecuted by the Spanish in the 16th century, they fled to the remote regions of the Copper Canyon and still live here to this day. Tourists from the Chepe train bring valuable income to remote Tarahumara communities. But for Guadalupe Arguero, their culture offers something else.
When I came here to these mountains for my first time, I got in love what these people they can do. So I started training and training and training until I got to complete the first time 60 kilometers. So I felt in love what you receive from the people.
Guadalupe is an ultra-marathon runner, competing in long-distance races that can range from 50 to 100 kilometers in length. And thanks to El Chepe, today he's come to meet a special training companion.
The reason that I come to visit Martin Moreno, because I know that he can run 100 kilometers or more. I'm excited to run again with Martin because I know his power and I know my power that is, I don't compare with him, but I do my effort to go more than he can. So that's my reason to come.
The Tarahumara have a reputation as extraordinary long-distance runners. Long before the Chepe Railroad connected these mountains to the coast, Tarahumara, like Martin Moreno, used long-distance running as a practical way to travel from village to village, covering as much as 80 to 100 kilometers a day, using only leather sandals and stamina.
Mira, Martín, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué ha habido? Nada. ¿Qué haciendo? Viendo el sol. Eso es bueno. ¿Qué ha habido? ¿Cómo has estado?
Pues bien,
¿Está bien?
esperando que vaya a correr a ver para dónde vamos.
A ver, ¿a dónde vamos? Vamos para el lado, acá para arriba.
Pues sí, estaría muy bien esta ruta, ¿no?
Sí, está mejor.
Para correr.
Un rato, pero más para entrenar.
Today, this deeply rooted part of their culture has seen Tarahumara athletes triumph in international competitions. For Guadalupe, a seasoned Tarahumara runner is the ultimate mentor.
That's why I'm training with Martin, because I know that following him is going to be hard. So if he goes to the Ultramarathon de los Cañones, I will follow him all the time. What is good in this area, so the terrain gets your ankle really, really strong. So let's do it.
Their ability as outstanding long-distance runners has made the Tarahumara famous around the world, and their agility on the rocky mountain ridges of Copper Canyon is reflected in the meaning of their name. Tarahumara meaning the light-footed people.
Other runners, they look for Tarahumaras, so that's one of the reasons I look for Martin, because I knew that I'm gonna put myself, that I'm gonna be training with him, so I'm gonna have my legs or my body, my mind even, because when you run ultramarathons, has in your legs, your power, it's more in your mind.
The Chepe route has been a vital link between remote Tarahumara communities and the rest of the country since it first opened. The final stretches of track were laid just outside Themeris. Here, the train must make a steep 200-meter descent to the valley floor below. To do this, it first enters the 930-meter La Pera tunnel. The train then doubles back on itself, turning a complete 180-degree loop inside the mountain. Emerging from the tunnel, the train then descends along the valley walls before the track loops again, crossing the 200-meter curve of the Santa Barbara Bridge and returning to its original course at a lower altitude. This triumph of engineering was completed in 1961, finally linking the inland city of Chihuahua with the Pacific coast. And today, a plaque stands at the Themeris Loop to commemorate this historic achievement. As the train continues down towards the coastal state of Sinaloa, it faces a new and growing environmental threat. The Chepe route might be a marvel of railway engineering, but a changing world means it constantly faces new challenges. As the train heads towards the plains of Sinaloa, it becomes vulnerable to a recent increase in extreme weather. In 2018, floods caused by record-breaking rainfall forced the Chepe line to close for several weeks. 3 years later, it happened again. With baking sun and torrential downpours damaging the tracks, division engineer Manuel Perez and his team are doing what they can to safeguard for the future.
Cualquier ferrocarril del mundo, la lluvia, el agua es uno de nuestros peores enemigos, ¿verdad? Déjame mostrarte la condición del durmiente de madera que acaban de sacar de la vía principal.
Lightweight, cheap, and easy to manufacture, wooden sleepers have been standard since the early days of the railway and can last for 50 years. But extreme weather has damaged them.
Este durmiente de madera no nos sostiene la fijación. Una fijación a base de clavo. Este durmiente ya no presta seguridad en cuanto a la resistencia transversal. Podemos correr el riesgo de perder el escantillón. El escantillón es la separación estándar de nuestros rieles, ¿no?
Even a slight change in the distance between tracks could spell disaster for a passing train. Manuel and his team need to solve the problem.
El trabajo que estamos ejecutando es el relevo de durmiente de madera por durmiente de concreto en curvas. Tiene mayor resistencia transversal, nuestra vía es más segura con ese durmiente de concreto. Por su proceso de fabricación pasa por ciertas pruebas de carga, pruebas de flexión. Está diseñado para soportar cargas de 130 toneladas.
They might be made from a more durable material, but installing the new sleepers by hand isn't easy.
La operación, como pueden ver, es una operación manual. La colocación es prácticamente con mucha coordinación, es delicada la maniobra por el peso del durmiente. A diferencia del peso que tiene este durmiente de concreto con respecto a un durmiente de madera que casi es 3 veces más, ¿no? Son 320 kilos el peso de un durmiente de concreto.
With 4,000 wooden sleepers in need of replacement, the crew's work looks set to continue. As it finally leaves the foothills of the Sierra Madre behind, the Chepe train finds itself on the coastal plains of Sinaloa. This fertile state is Mexico's agricultural heartland, producing wheat, sugarcane, and other commercial crops. From here, it's a short run to the Pacific coast and the train's final destination, the city of Los Mochis. Founded in 1893, Los Mochis built its fortune on the sugar industry, and the remains of the old sugar refinery still stand to this day. As the train approaches the end of its journey, it's time for the passengers to reflect on a memorable trip.
It's my first time, and I am really enjoying the trip. I think it's been a really good experience.
Es la primera vez que yo vengo y honestamente me he divertido bastante.
And for the crew, it's a chance to wind down after a long shift.
It's been a busy day today. We are almost finishing our shift. We are heading to Los Mochis. We serve around 800 people during this trip. Everybody, we're happy, everybody enjoys the trip, so it was fine. It was very fun today. It was a great day.
After a distance of 650 kilometers and a breathtaking descent of over 2,000 meters, El Chepe Express comes to its final stop. From the heights of the Sierra Madre, past the cliffs and winding rivers of the Copper Canyon, and onto the coastal plains below, El Chepe Express has mastered a landscape like no other. It's a journey of diverse and interconnected worlds, rich in local culture and centuries of Mexican history, all joined together by an iconic train line. And as it descends from cool mountain heights to tropical valleys, it is the train's staff and the engineering crews of this railway who keep it thriving in an ever-changing world, making El Chepe one of the truly greatest train journeys in the world.